All right, so I appreciate your time today, James Ali Bashir. Now, obviously, I know you quite well. I've seen a lot of your interviews in the past, and you're someone I consider a world-class trainer. For people who don't know you so well, can you tell us about your background?
Well, I've been in the sport 52 years. 52 years of my life, and I think that I've experienced. I've worked with a lot of great trainers over the years. And in saying that, uh, there was great experiences provided to me from them. And what I did was I combined all of what I learned from these great trainers that I worked with over the years. I combined it all into one package, and I deliver it as a trainer now.
Okay. And I know obviously sort of earlier on in your career, you were in Muhammad Ali's training camp and you've been around people like Tim Witherspoon and so on.
Yes, yes, I was. Yeah, I was there in the Muhammad Ali training camp in Deer Lake, Pennsylvania. 73, 74, 75. I was then working with the great light heavyweight champion Matthew Saad Muhammad,
Yeah.
and Matthew Saad Muhammad would go into Muhammad Ali's training camp at different times to give sparring to Muhammad Ali. And I met a lot of the great fighters there too. Larry Holmes and Tim Witherspoon, Eddie Mustafa Muhammad. So I met some really good talent in that training camp. I was a young man then, and I overlooked some things because I was young. I was just young. I didn't take it to heart like I should have, like I wish that I would have. But Muhammad Ali was just one of the guys, and you always say, as a young man, you always say, "Well, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow." But I appreciated being there. Yeah, I worked in Muhammad Ali's training camp. It was a blessing.
Sounds good. Yeah, story of my life. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. I know that
Yeah,
feeling.
yeah, yeah. Everybody. It's when you're young, you think you got time. When you're young, you always think that tomorrow, tomorrow, tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. And I wish that I had did a lot of things when I was in that camp. That I didn't do because I always thought I had time. And apparently I ran out of time.
It happens. I'm gonna ask you a very interesting question, which let me just ask it. Tell me what you think. All right. So I'm 31 now. I've got different plans for what I want to do in boxing. Long term, I'd like to become a manager, a promoter, and we'll see how it goes. I don't really want to train fighters. If someone asked me to help them for free, I wouldn't mind, but I don't really want to train fighters. Let's say, for argument's sake, you know who Fraser Clark is.
I've heard the name. I can't say that I know who he is, but I've heard the name. This came past my brain at some point.
That's right. Well, he's been to the Olympics. He's a super heavyweight, and he did quite well. He turned professional recently. Now, I think this is a very interesting question. If someone came to me, say a heavyweight boxer came to me, and they said they want me to train them, I want you to help me. I want to become next heavyweight champion of the world. I'm one of the few people in boxing that would give you the following answer. Like, I'm a very honest, honorable person. I could say yes and make a lot of money, but my answer would be I'm 31 years old. I just don't think I'm the best person to train you. And I'd laugh, I'd find it funny. And I genuinely, I mean this, I'm not trying to sound clever. I'd say to them, my advice to you, I'd say go with either James Ali Bashir or Stacey McKinley. That's my advice. Now, I'm a bright guy. I've been around boxing. So if you want me to copy what other people do, hold the pads, I can improvise, but I'm not. I'll tell you to your face, I don't think I can do for you what James Ali Bashir or Stacey McKinley can. And the question I'm coming to, the problem is most people in boxing won't do that. If you come to them and you offer them that, they'll take it, even if they they're no good at the job, even if they've never trained a heavyweight before. They'll
Well,
use you.
I find in boxing that um, egos is what takes front and center stage. You know, they won't tell an individual that I don't know or I'm not capable, because boxing is not boxing is an art. It's not a situation where a guy can wake up one morning or a girl can wake up one morning and say, you know what, I'm going to be a trainer. It doesn't work like that. It does not work like that. A person has to have it in them, just like people that are artists, or artists that draws pictures. The person is just born to do that. And so it is with boxing. So it is with boxing and the boxing trainers. It's got to be in the individual. It's got to be born into them. It comes with the birth package. You don't just walk in or wake up one day and say, I'm going to be a boxing trainer, or I'm going to be an artist, or I'm going to be an auto mechanic, or airplane pilot. It's just something that comes with the birth package. You know, it's what they call the golden touch. And a lot of people out there now that are training boxers, in my opinion, don't know they elbow from their shirt collar, you know,
Yeah.
and they're out there gambling with people's lives. That's what I call gambling with their people's lives. You know, I see a lot of individuals that get hurt in boxing. Sometimes they get killed in boxing because an inept individual does not know when enough is enough. And in the name of being egotistic, they push the guy past the limit or the girl past the limit, and they die. This is a serious situation. Boxing is a very serious situation, and it takes capable people at the helm to guide the people in boxing. So everybody can't be a boxer. Everybody can't be a boxing trainer. No, it's not gonna. It doesn't work like that. You know, I train boxers. In fact, I trained a lot of boxers in my time, but I consider myself a big guy trainer.
Yeah.
My forte in boxing has been with the big guys, the cruiserweights. Now there's a bridgerweight division and the heavyweights. These are the people that I've been most successful with. Even though I've trained a lot of boxing, it's a mentality. It's a mentality. You got to know when to apply it and when not to apply. You got to know all of the signs, and that does not come overnight.
Yeah. And I'll say quickly, like, I don't want to make this interview about myself, but I've spoken to Eddie Hearn before, and I've asked him his advice. How do I become a boxing manager? In my opinion, one day I think I can become a very good boxing manager, but I definitely don't think I can become a good boxing trainer. It's not for me. But this is what I'm saying. This is the problem. You have so many people that are doing it, but sometimes they're there because of who they know, or they're there for whatever reason. They're not necessarily good at it. And the question is, why do you think boxing's changed these days? Because back in the 70s, you had people like Eddie Futch, you had Angelo Dundee. You had to learn your trade as a trainer. But these days, all you need to do, get on Instagram, make a name for yourself, become a celebrity trainer. Like, that's the problem these days.
Well, I think that the people that really suffer are the artists themselves, because they don't know the difference between an official trainer, a real trainer, and one that's just promoting himself, just taking the situation for granted. Somebody might trust them and they say, oh, I can go out and I can make all kinds of mistakes with this person's life. Not with their career, with their lives, because boxing is a deadly sport. It's a beautiful sport if you know how to apply. But if you don't know how to apply, then somewhere along the line you're going to get in trouble. You're man enough and accurate enough in your thinking to say that I wouldn't be a good trainer. It came a lot. I worked with a lot of trainers, and I never thought about being a trainer. Actually, I started out with amateur boxers, and the bug bit me, and I wanted to learn more and more and more and more and more, and here I am today.
Yeah.
It's a very risky thing. Boxing needs what you said. Everybody wants to be a trainer, but boxing needs more right thinking management, right thinking promoters. That's not just in it for self grandeur. You know, it's you have to be correct in their thinking, have to be correct in their approach, have to watch out for the boxers. So many managers come into the sport to rape the boxers, you know, get as much as they can out of them and then throw them to the roadside while they try to get a new one, you know. But so boxing is in need of good management now, good solid promoters. So yeah, it's a market for that. You know, being that you said that you like being involved in the management part, boxing is in need of that. You know, and especially in Great Britain and America, because they seem to be the leading contenders for the uno numero when it comes to the promotion of boxers. They seem to have the best boxers in America and in Great Britain.
Yeah. Well, sort of going along what you say, I've seen your interviews with Ingram, and there was something you said about you yourself. You weren't the most talented boxer, and your trainer, the first guy who trained you, I forget his name, but he had a way of telling you politely without telling you, as in you'd come into the gym, and instead of training you, he would sort of just tell you to do something else and something along those lines. So,
well, like I said, you gotta have the attributes when you're a boxer, when you're an athlete, in any athlete, whether you're a sprinter, a swimmer, you gotta have the attributes. I was born with impaired vision. Anybody that knew me early on, before the era of the contact lens, anybody that knew me from early on as a young boxer, they knew that I wore bifocals, what they call bifocals.
Yeah.
My lenses was like Coca-Cola bottles. The kids in the neighborhood used to tease me and say, you wearing those Coca-Cola bottles, because my eyes were so impaired. You know, I was born like that. And even now, I've even tried to, I said, well, I don't want to wear contacts no more. So I went and I tried to get LASIK vision. In fact, Vladimir Klitschko sent me to different doctors, Germany, America, you know, Sweden, you know, different places, to the best doctors in the world, to see if they could do the LASIK surgery on my eyes. And each one of the doctors said no, because I have what they call astigmatism.
okay.
Astigmatism, where it does not allow me to have LASIK vision. So here I am, I'm wearing contact lenses now. And contact lenses has been a blessing for me, because like I said, I had some thick glasses. My right lens was far thicker than my left lens.
Wow.
You know, and they were heavy, but that's the way I was born. So I knew that I wasn't going to go far as a professional, because I didn't have the eyes. That helped. I had every other attribute. I knew how to box. I understood the sport. I liked the sport, but I just didn't have the eyes. I could never compete, you know, at the top level with top level boxers, because as the trainer that you're talking about was named Mr. Shirley. His name was Frank Shirley. And he told me, he said, hey man, he said, you can't see. You can't see. You're responding after you get hit. You got to respond before you get hit, because you can't see. So if you don't have the attributes to be a good boxer in one venue, you can be a good helper, a good trainer. You understand? But you
Yes.
have to learn. You have to learn. You have to love it in your heart, and you have to learn. A lot of people, they come in boxing and they cut themselves off because they're too smart. They're too smart to listen and learn properly. I see it all the time. I see it all over the world. I travel to many places, and I observe it all over. I just recently told a young man, I think I was in Bulgaria, Greece,
Yeah.
or France. One, and I kept trading words with, like a debate with a young man.
Yeah.
And we kept going back and forth, and I kept saying, no, this is not the proper way. He said, no, that's the way, that's your opinion. I said, yeah, everything is based on opinion. And one word, one thing led to another, and we kept going back. I said, excuse me, young man, how old are you? He said, what? I said, how old are you? He said, what does that have to do with anything? I said, when it comes to life itself, it has everything to do with everything. You understand? I just want to know, how old are you? And the guy told me he was 42 years old.
Wow.
I said, hey, man, I said, you need to get in line and learn your craft before you start trying to teach your craft.
Yeah.
You know, you got to get in line. You got to learn. You got to learn from the guys that have been in the sport. You come in the sport at 42 years old, you're hot shot, you think you this, you think you that. No. I said, look, man, I said, I'm 70 years old. You 42. I got grandchildren your age.
Yeah.
I got grandchildren your age. So what are you going to tell me? You understand? I got grandchildren your age, man. And you don't have enough respect for me. You're going word for word with me, trying to tell me about boxing. No, I came from an era. I had my first fight in 1959. And I lost my first 3 amateur fights. You know, I lost my first 3 amateur fights. I felt that looking back, I felt that I shouldn't have been in with the boxers I was in with. So they were just too experienced.
Yeah, mismatches.
You know?
Yeah.
Yes, the people would put me in with guys that was too experienced, you know? But I learned. I learned from those losses. I learned, you know? And 2 of those losses, I got stopped in 2 of those losses, you know? Because I just didn't know. I was out there street fighting with guys that knew how to box.
Yeah.
I didn't know nothing about body punching and spinning you and fainting. I didn't know nothing about that. I was just out there fighting. So that's the standard in boxing now. If people just come in, they learn a little something in the amateurs, and they next thing you know, they got a towel on their shoulder and they're a trainer. You know, and I think the people that are suffering are the boxers, male and female. I think they're suffering from that because these guys are pushing their concept on them, and the boxers themselves, they're not aware that they're being used, that somebody's getting on the job training with their lives.
Yeah.
And that's not good. That's not good.
See, one of the problems is, the thing is with Mr. Shirley, him, me, and you were very similar. Well, I'll tell people the truth. One of the problems I have with boxing, with boxers, a lot of them, you can tell you're not going to achieve the most success in boxing. Not everyone's going to become a champion. Not everyone's going to become a millionaire.
No, that's why. If that was the case, everybody would be a boxer. Everybody can't be an artist, because if everybody would be. Everybody wants to shine in some way, form, fashion, or another. But like I said, most of the things that people are good at, they were born to do it. It was in the makeup for them to do that. You know, it was in the makeup. And Mr. Shelley just told me, say, hey, man, you can't see. And I was pissed off with him. I was angry with him for a long time. I was angry with him for telling me the truth. I was angry with him for saving my life from getting my brains knocked out. And that was commonplace. Going back in the 50s and 60s, it was commonplace for people in the neighborhood who had tried to be boxers, walking around, they couldn't talk.
Yeah.
They couldn't express themselves. They were walking crooked. They were staggering. Lots of people, when I was growing up, lots of people in the 50s and 60s, I saw lots of guys that was punched, what they call punch drunk. You understand? And you look at these guys, you know, and some people take pride in that. I heard one trainer say, Hey, I trained, Terry Norris. Terry Norris is all right now, but he can't express himself very well because he's from all those punches he took.
Yeah.
He doesn't express himself very well because of all of the punches that he took to the head. And I think that Floyd Mayweather said something very smart. He said, "Hey, boxing is about hitting and not being hit. That's the art. That's what boxing is, an art. You don't want to wear your legacy on your sleeve and take all those punches, because in the end, when those guys have to go back to normal life, when the crowd stops roaring, when there's nobody else around, they have to live. And the women and men that live with these individuals that have been in boxing, their families got to live with that, and they don't all the time end up very well, So it's an art form, and everybody can't teach boxing. Everybody can't be a boxer. It's up to the people who go out to learn the sport to be able to teach the boxing in depth. A lot of people don't have that. They don't have that ability. Arrogance, ignorance, stupidity stops them. And a lot of these boxers are suffering in Great Britain. I see a lot of good boxers in Great Britain. I see a lot of good boxers in America, but they align themselves with idiots. I say that out there to all of the people that are listening. I think that you need to get to yourself and sit back and observe who's doing the teaching. And you'll see their legacy through the people that they work with. If they want to be good, they have to sit back and observe. They can't just go out there with some guy that's half-cocked, that's trying different things with the boxer in the name of learning on the job. Because I made some mistakes. I made some big mistakes. I had a young man many years ago, and I took the young man into a young George Foreman's camp. George Foreman was about to fight George Chuvalo in New York. And I took this young man into George Foreman's camp, and we stayed there for 3 weeks in Houston, Texas. And then when he came into New York, I think they fought in Madison Square Garden. They had an outside ring. They said an outside ring. And I brought the guy that I had in the camp, I brought him there so George can finish him. I know now that I made a mistake, because after that young man finished after that young man finished working in George Foreman's camp, he was never the same.
Wow, just from sparring.
Just from sparring.
Wow.
He was never, ever, ever the same. That's right. He was never the same. He didn't have the same confidence. He didn't have the same abilities. Everything had changed in a matter of 6 or 7 weeks. Everything had changed, because I wasn't smart enough as a boxing trainer to say, whoa, from the first sparring, from the very first time they sparred, I wasn't smart enough to say, whoa, wait a minute, sir. Wait a time. We don't belong here. We're going home. Please put us on the plane and let us go. And I could have saved him. I could have saved him. But I was being too brave with the boxer.
Yeah.
I was being too brave with the boxer. Too brave with the boxer. And that was hurting me,
Sorry, is your screen on? It's gone to screensaver?
Yeah, somebody's trying to call me. I'm gonna let the call go fast.
Okay, thanks. But that's my point. Like, for me, if someone wanted me to train them, that's what I would explain to them. I'd say to them, if I train you and you end up dead or in a coma, it's going to be too late to wish that you picked a James Ali Bashir. So that's. But I'll give you.
Can you remember a young boxer named Robert Wayne Giller?
No.
I think he was from Nigeria, or one of the African countries.
Yeah.
And I think he was undefeated. If I'm not mistaken, he was undefeated, or he had taken a loss. It was some years back. I think he was signed to Top Rank, and I think he had won a fight, and he went in the locker room and he collapsed and he died.
Wow. Okay, yeah, that's one of the dangers of boxing, obviously. But I'll give you an example of what you and me are saying for any boxers that are watching this. There's two boxers I want to bring up. So you got Wilfred Benitez, who was world champion at 17, and you got Muhammad Ali or Cassius Clay, who was Olympic gold medalist at 18. In my opinion, if you take two people like that, that's what you call talent. I believe a lot of boxers or people, you're not going to have that kind of talent. And if you haven't got that kind of talent, don't
What people
ask
don't
me.
know,
So yeah, go
what
on,
people
sorry.
don't know is that Wilfred Benitez had a brother named Frankie Benitez that was just as good.
Well, I didn't know that.
Nobody knows that. But he was just as good, but he wasn't. He was a loose cannon. He was described as a loose cannon. He didn't want to put the time in training. You know, he trained today and might not train 3 days, and then train. You know, that's why he didn't make it. You know, and
Didn't have the
Benitez was a
dedication.
young guy, but he played around a lot too. But Benitez, he was just talented, but he played around a lot. You know, he played around. Like he didn't take the sport very, very toply serious.
See,
And
but this is
it cost him in the long run.
but this is my point. So if I take those two guys, or you could talk about George Foreman, I've looked at his career. You talk about Sonny Liston. To me, if you haven't got a reasonable amount of talent, to me, anyone can box. If you want to box at a white collar or amateur level, that's up to you. But if you're trying to become champion of the world, I believe that you have to have a certain amount of talent. And people like you can take a look at someone and you can tell who's got the talent. Is that something you'd agree with? Because I'll just say quickly, a lot of
Yeah,
people
yeah.
they'll lie to you. So yeah, I'll
I
just
tell
say.
people every day.
See, the
I
problem
tell
in
people every day. Okay, wait. I tell people every day.
yeah, yeah,
I get phone calls from all over the world, literally
yeah.
all over the world, about somebody who has a boxer who wants to turn pro. We want you to come to this country, Moscow, Ukraine, somewhere in the States, somewhere in Africa. I get calls all of the time to come and train this person, come and train that person. I just had a call recently about a light heavyweight here in the States, and they sent me the video. They called me, asked me would I train the guy. You know, he had done well in the amateurs, and he was signed with Matchroom.
Oh,
He got a
okay.
free fight. He got a free fight deal with Matchroom,
Yeah.
and they sent me the video of a fight that he had. I don't know whether it was in Britain or it was in the States, but it was a matchroom fight. And they sent me a video of the fight that he had, and they called the fight a draw. I had the opponent winning, but Matchroom watching out for their interests, they said we called it a draw. And I looked at the guy's body language and his body language during the fight. I just observed so many factors while he was boxing, and I called him back and said, I don't want him. I don't want to train him. You know, I don't want to waste my time, because this guy had an opportunity with Matchroom, a 3-fight deal with Matchroom that does not come that often. It comes far and few in between. And he came out into the fight in a 4-round fight looking like that did. I don't want that kind of
Yeah, fine.
that kind of problem.
Yeah.
I'm too old for that. I don't want. I don't have the stamina for that foolishness. You know, I want people who are disciplined, people who respect the sport of boxing. If you don't have respect for the sport of boxing, then you don't have respect for me. there's no sense in us getting together. I turn people down every day because I don't think that they qualify. I'm looking down the long street. I ain't looking at what they have right now. I'll look at them and say, what will they do in 3 to 5 years with the competition that's out there? You know, do they have the enthusiasm? Do they have the attention span? All of these things plays a factor. You know, I like this kid, Connor Ben. I like his attitude. You know, I like his work ethic. I like his attitude, and he's there to fight. You know, so yeah, I could work with a guy like that. You know, but a lot of these guys don't have. They just they come into boxing as though they were wearing a jacket. I'll put this jacket on today because it's cold, and then when it gets a little cooler, gets a little warmer, I'll throw it off. But sometimes you gotta wear the jacket even when it's warm. You know, if you want to compete, you know, you gotta have that attitude, and a lot of guys don't have it. So I turn boxers down every day. I'm working with one young man in Ukraine, and I'm working with another Ukrainian here in the States. You know, those are the two boxers that I'm most concerned with. Those are the two boxers that I'm most invested in because they come in and they do what I ask them to do. They come in, they lay it on the line. You know, they come in and take the chances that I ask them to take, and that's what I work with. I like those guys. Just two guys. Igor Plavecko, he's here in America. He's a Ukrainian, and Vladislav Sarenko. Those are my guys. Those are my investments. That's what I put my heart and soul into because they put their heart and soul into me. They trust me. They look forward to me. They look up to me, and I don't want to let them down. Under no circumstance do I want to let them down.
You have an amazing mind. So yeah, you have an amazing mindset. A lot of people wouldn't turn fighters down the way you do. They'll take it just for the money.
Yeah, everybody wants money, but my mother raised me to earn my money. You know, my mother earned me. My mother's words to me were, "Don't bring no shame to my door. Don't bring no shame to my door. Do not steal. Do not lie. Do not cheat. Do not con." Nobody in the business of boxing, nowhere in my history, can say that I stole anything, that I lied to them, that I cheated them.
Okay, let me talk about, you mentioned George Foreman earlier. Someone I really want to talk about is George Foreman said the only man to ever back him up in sparring was Sonny Liston. Now, for me, I just think Sonny Liston is criminally underrated. I think a lot of people, thing is, they haven't seen his fights.
Well, people who don't know boxing. I keep seeing these scenarios on the internet about what would happen if Rocky Marciano went against Sonny Liston. Rocky Marciano would get knocked out inside of 3-4 rounds. He would get dogged and knocked out. And then people attack me on the internet. No, you're wrong. Marciano was 49-0. Rocky Marciano was this, he was that, he was this, he was that. He wasn't in with Sonny Liston. That's what I'm telling you. I would just tell him he wasn't boxing Sonny Liston.
Yeah. But a lot of these, the thing is, it's like me. I've never lost to give you an example of what these people are saying, I've never lost a professional fight in my life, but that's because I'm not a professional fighter. I've never had a pro fight. And I'll tell you a true story. I'll tell you a true story. The problem about responding to these sort of people, I remember years ago, I was talking to someone, I was 5-6 years older than him. We were talking about Ali versus Tyson. He's trying to tell me Mike Tyson can knock Ali out. We're going back and forth for about half an hour. And then I said to him, what about Sonny Liston? What do you think of Sonny Liston? And would you believe this young man, he looked at me and he literally, he's never heard of Sonny Liston. So at that point, I ended the conversation. I thought, I can't believe I've been drawn into this silly conversation with, so a lot of them, they don't know boxing. They just go by highlights and they're not honest enough to say they don't know something. But in your opinion, if you look at the Liston fights with, Patterson, Cleveland, Williams, those sort of performances, where do you see Liston in the all-time heavyweight champions?
Liston is in that top five.
Yeah, I agree.
He's in that top five. I have to sit down and observe what place in top five, but he's in that top five, definitely. His jab alone puts him in the top five. He had a vicious jab, and that's something that's not very embraced in boxing. A jab. Liston had a jab that can knock you out. All right, and he worked behind that jab. And the Cleveland Williams two fights is a prime example of that, of what he was able to do with that jab. And plus, Cleveland Williams had, like I said before, you got to have at least 95% of the attributes. Liston had a fighter's mentality. Who am I fighting? Okay, you don't belong here with me, and I'm going to show you why in the first 2-3 rounds. I'm going to show you that you don't belong here. And if you stay here with me, I'm going to beat you. I'm going to beat you so bad that you don't want to fight no more. Sonny Liston was one of my favorites because he was disciplined. He worked behind that jab, and he can land those right hands. And he had hands like little claws,
Yeah, I've seen
So
him.
yeah, he was a very, very good fighter. I don't think that Rocky Marciano was in the same class of Sonny Liston. Rocky Marciano was good. He was tough. But I look with the old guys, Archie Moore,
As a
Joe
Charles.
Walcott, Ezra Charles, I watched with those guys, even Joe Louis. Joe Louis had come back. And I look how those guys, what they were able to do with Marciano. And I'm saying, and these guys are shouting and telling me what Marciano would do with Sonny Liston. I said, no, I don't think so. Nobody will ever know, but I'm just comparing the fights, which in most cases you can't do because you can't judge a fighter in one fight as opposed to another one. But this time, I'm doing it with Ezra Charles, Joe Walcott, Archie Moore, and Joe Louis. What they were able to do with Rocky Marciano. And I'm saying, what would happen if this was Sonny Liston? I don't think that he would be able to stand up to that kind of firepower.
Yeah, and look, I think Marciano is an amazing fighter, and I respect him. We're not saying anything disrespectful, but
no, I wouldn't dare.
Yeah, I've got listen. If obviously Marciano's passed away, rest in peace. But I'd have no problem. I'd have no problem saying it to his face. So for me, when I judge fighters, I look at their best fights, and then to the best of my ability, I'll compare it against someone else's best fight. And do I think he can beat Sonny Liston? I just think Liston's taller. He's bit like the styles. I just don't see it. Because if someone like Ezra Charles broke Marciano's nose. If that fight was today, that fight would get stopped, most likely. So I just don't see how you're going to take Sonny Liston. And look, it's not a knock, because obviously all fighters lose at some point. There's always that style. Because a lot of people may not necessarily be aware of Muhammad Ali.
Sonny Liston just had too much artillery for a small guy like Marciano to get into this. Sonny was just too strong for Marciano.
Yeah.
Too powerful with both hands. Too strong. Too much. Do everything for Marciano. I just don't see it. I don't see it. Even if Marciano landed on Sonny, what was he gonna do?
Sonny will take it. Yeah.
Yeah. Make him angry.
Wake him up. But it's like, I'll give you a quick example, but it's like, the funny thing is, Muhammad Ali did very well against the big guys. But then people like the Fraser, Jimmy Young, Sonny Banks, these sort of people gave him problems. So stylistically, there are going to be people out. And to me, stylistically, Liston's just all wrong for Marciano. you know. But like, it's all fun talking about boxing. What other heavyweights stand out for you in the all-time lists? For me, the other two, I would say, you got Ali. I'd say Joe Louis, Larry Holmes. Who's the other one?
George Foreman.
Foreman. Yeah, sorry, that's the one. Slipped my mind. Those for me are the most dominant heavyweights of all time. Who else would you? Who else do you admire?
You got it. You got to. A lot of these guys were good fighters, but they weren't disciplined enough to go further into their careers. You know, um, Tyson Fury is a good fighter, but his greatness has got to come from another great fighter. You know, you need like Frazier made Ali. Frazier he exalted Ali because you got a chance to see who Ali was through the Frazier fights. Not saying any the other fights wasn't valuable, but the Frazier fights established who Muhammad Ali was.
Yeah.
Tyson Fury is a good fighter, but in order to be a great fighter, he's got to find somebody it takes, like they say, it takes two to tango.
Yes.
He's got to find somebody to tangle with that's going to exalt him as a great fighter. And he couldn't get that with Deontay Wilder. For whatever reason, Deontay Wilder wasn't a bad fighter, but he wasn't a great fighter. You know? Tyson Fury wasn't a bad fighter, but he's not a great fighter. You got to get somebody to tangle to bring out the pure boxer in them, you know? Where every question that people might ask is answered, you know? I mean, you say the last fight with Tyson went down twice and Deontay went down 2 or 3 times. It was like a slugfest. I didn't see a lot of artistry in that fight.
Okay.
They were just emotional. They were fighting.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, they was. I just want you. Let's fight. You know, that was it. But it wasn't the kind of artistry that you saw Ali versus Frazier 3, Ali versus Frazier 1. That was artistry. That was brutality at its finest. You know, everything. They pulled out all the stops in those fights. You know, that's what I'm saying.
I agree. I guess you don't really have the trainers these days that are able to
It's what I'm saying. It's what I'm saying. You don't have the trainers. You don't have the trainers because nobody wants to take the time out, roll up their sleeve, and listen and learn and grow and grow and grow and grow. You know, they don't. The trainers now is fly by night. They want to put it in a jar, shake it up, and say, "All right, I'm gonna train them. Let's go." And they're gambling with people's lives. The boxers is the ones that's losers. You know, the boxers is the ones that's losers.
Because as you say, the problem is they don't know how to develop all these attributes correctly. So if you say, Alex, if you give me a quick example, if you gave me an Olympic heavyweight gold medalist, obviously I could have some success with him. I'm not stupid. I could copy what I see in the documentaries. I could say, all right, champ, today you're going to do 10-round sparring. You're going to do, yeah, I'm not stupid. I could improvise for a while. But if you're talking about creating an actual fighter, I'm going to get found out at some point. That's what someone like you can do, you know? I'll say, James, still there? It's like problem. Let's see if we can get hold of him.
Okay.
I was just trying to explain. Say a fighter came to me, Olympic heavyweight gold medalist, and they asked me to train them. In my heart of hearts, to anyone who's watching this, I promise you, I turn it down. I say, if you want me to help you, I can do that. But someone like James Ali Bashir has to take responsibility. Now, what I'm trying to say, but if I did train her at heavyweight, look, I can copy what I see in the documentaries. I'm not. I can tell you, wake up 6 o'clock in the morning, 10 rounds on the heavy bag today. But at some point, I'm gonna get found out. Like as you start moving up the levels, and what I'm trying to say is the problem is you're dealing with people that they're not gonna know what to tell you. Like if you say you get knocked out in a fight, say you get dropped, I don't know what to tell you. I can tell you get up, but I'm limited in what I can and can't do. But anyway, that's just the reality of boxing these days. Let me ask you a question about. I want to ask you an interesting question about two particular heavyweights, Vladimir Klitschko, Vladimir Klitschko and Augie Harrison. Something I've noticed about both of them, and I've met both of them before, but I'd love to ask them this someday. When you look at Klitschko, to me, Klitschko had the potential to be an all-time great. But the problem with both of them, in my opinion, they're too scared, they're too cautious of getting hit. What do you think of that statement?
Well, I wouldn't argue with that. I mean, everybody has a different persona in the ring, and some guys get over their insecurities, their fears, and other guys don't. And their style in the ring, tells you what they're about. So there's, I wouldn't criticize nobody for saying that. Boxing is a tough sport, and these guys say, "Look, I don't want to get hurt. This is how I'm going to box."
Okay.
And Vladimir, I worked with Vladimir for many years, and he's a very careful boxer. Very, very careful boxer. He boxes well behind the jab, and he's always looking to land the right hand. The knock on Vladimir is that he ties up too much. But who am I to say that you don't tie up? He's the guy that's in there, so that's what it is.
So do you think that's just obviously you could say the same about any fighter. You can point out weaknesses they've got. So are you saying is that just a part of boxing? You're always going to have certain weaknesses, and
it's very, very rare that you find a guy who don't have vulnerabilities inside the ring. It's very, very rare that you find a guy that's so well rounded that their flaws are hidden. It's very, very rare attribute. So these guys are Audley, Vladimir, and a few others. They have their vulnerabilities, and sometimes they seem tangible, and then they have the intangible.
But then the thing is, no matter what you do, especially if you're a Klitschko, obviously there's people out there studying you. So no matter what you do, it's impossible to max everything out because there's going to be people out there working on your weaknesses. So that's just part of life, really. Outside of
it's part of the sport. It's part of the sport.
Yeah. Reality.
Somebody's always going to be trying to touch down on your vulnerability. I do it all the time. I go in there, I watch the video until I'm blue in the face. I watch to see what we can capitalize on. And every human being has something that they're going to leave the door open for somebody to capitalize on.
I agree. Outside of boxing, what do you what sort of hobbies do you have? And a quick question, something I've always spoke to fighters about, not just yourself, but I always tell fighters to try and find other things to do as I keep fighting, but have stuff on the side. You know what I mean? Have, go to college, have a job on the side as well. Is that something you talk to fighters about?
Oh, yeah. Especially the ones that I don't think is going to make
it. Yeah.
Because, and I say that in all earnest, because when I say they're not going to make it, it's a lot of things that happens inside sparring, inside gyms. And I see this, and it makes me feel queasy about this guy might not make it. He might not make it because sometimes the boxer is too intelligent. You know, they're doing boxes like they're doing paperwork in the office. No, boxing is far different from that. So yeah, they should have another outlet. They should have a back door to boxing. They want to stay in the sport, as a commentator, as a manager, as a promoter, as a PR person. It's a lot of avenues that you can work in boxing with. I've dedicated my whole life to boxing. My whole life is boxing.
Okay.
And it's like AJ. I'm looking at AJ now, and AJ, he seems to me like he had some insecurities left from the first Ruiz fight. It was like Humpty Dumpty sat on the wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall, and all the king's horses and all the king's men, they couldn't put old Humpty back together again. So now he's reaching to this person, he's reaching to that person, and I'm watching these clips on the internet where he's working with this person, he's working with that one, and I see all kinds of things that's wrong in those little clips. I see things that's wrong, the practice that's wrong. Not saying that he's going to take the heart, but if you're not going to take it to heart, why do it? That's my thinking.
Yeah.
Don't partake in it. AJ is at a point now where he has to tell. Sometimes he has to tell trainers, "This is wrong. This is how I need to do it." I see a lot of things wrong in the clips. I think AJ needs to sit back and ask himself what he wants to do. Does he want to be in boxing? He says that he's going to be a 3-time world champion, and it's very possible. But it's also very possible that Alexander Usyk can beat him again. Alexander Usyk is a very resourceful fighter, a very smart fighter, a very educated boxer. And I can see if they said that Alexander Usyk comes back to win a decision again, I can see that happening. They see that said that AJ comes back and decisions Usyk, I can see that happen. I can see both scenarios. But AJ has got to sit down and he's got to collect himself. He's got to get his mind straight. He's got too many, as my mother would say, too many cooks spoil the soup.
Yes.
You're getting some information from here, you're getting some information from there, and then AJ will tell you, well, I know what I'm doing, I know what my plan is, So, I mean, it doesn't mesh very well, not when you're at the level of boxing that he is. He's got to get this right, because this fight is right around the corner. He's got to get this right. I worked with AJ a little bit when we was in the Latimer Klitschko camp, and I'm a good fit for him. I could work with him. I could get him right. Can he win the world championship with me? What I'm thinking about is this here. Why wouldn't AJ try to employ my mindset to try to beat Alexander Usyk when I'm the one that trained Usyk through the first title he had?
I remember.
And I'm saying, why? Why hasn't AJ reached out for me? This is a business. This is a business. And one of the big things that I learned from Emanuel Stewart, who was one of the mentors that I've had in my life. In boxing, Emanuel Stewart was one of the mentors, that I've had in my life. Mr. Shirley was the biggest mentor, but Emanuel Stewart definitely was a mentor in the boxing world for me. And Emanuel told me way back a long time ago, he said, listen, it's not always what a trainer knows. He says how a trainer formulates strategy. That's the big thing about the trainer. Can he make the adjustments to formulate strategy? AJ needs strategy. He needs strategy, not go out there with brawn and muscle and tip for tat. Did you see how he was jabbing Usyk in the first fight?
Of course, he's very careful, cautious,
He was,
weak.
yeah, it was tentative, like, stop. You better stop. I'm gonna hit you. I'm gonna hit you. Better stop. I was like, what the hell? What kind of jab is that? Did Sonny Liston threw a jab, whether he missed you or not? The jab was coming through you. The jab was going to go through you. So AJ, I would think, would say, damn, well, Bashir is not working with Usyk anymore. Why don't I employ his services? Why don't I tap into Bashir's mindset to see if he can formulate a strategy for me to beat Usyk? You understand?
Of course.
This is a business. This is a business. This is a complete business like so many other businesses. Usyk doesn't employ my services no more. So why don't I tap into that there?
Yeah, but the thing is, I completely agree with you. If I didn't, I'd just tell you honestly.
Yeah,
but a lot of these boxers, I'll show you human nature. These boxers don't have that kind of common sense, because if you look at Anthony Joshua, boxers or people in general, when they get money, I want to get the best car, I want to get the best Rolex, I want to get Gucci, I want to get the biggest fashion labels. But when it comes to a trainer, like I'd say, right, without question, like I'm quite knowledgeable about boxing. I'd say heavyweight boxers. I'd say in the world, you got yourself, Stacey McKinley, you got Ronnie Shields. You're the most experienced guys when it comes to heavyweights. There might be others, but you're top five without question. The thing about a lot of these, but boxers don't think like that. When it comes to Rolex, I don't care. I'll pay 40 grand, 50. But when it comes to a trainer, you're picking someone called.
I agree. I agree. They don't make the same investment in trainers as they do with women, with jewelry, with cars and homes. They don't make the same investment because a lot of times the boxers say, listen, I've been in the amateurs, I've been in the pros, I don't need a trainer. Everybody needs a trainer. If you're boxing professionally, everybody needs those eyes in the corner. Everybody needs a mindset in the corner that says, no. Don't do this. This is what you need to do to invite it. Because a lot of times when a boxer's in the ring, he's taking punches to the body. He's taking punches to the head. He's exhausted. So a lot of times he's acting in remote as opposed to acting out of skill. So he needs those eyes, those extra eyes, the extra mindset in the corner to call him back. Say, come back. Look, we need to get back to the jab. We need to do this here. We need to get back to these here things that got us this far. And he needs that right away. He needs it almost instinctively. You know, with somebody to tell him, this is what you need to do now. So why wouldn't he like they say, you tried the rest, now try the best. I can get him there. And I don't care whether he hires me or not. Everybody needs money. I don't know nobody who's going to turn money down.
Yeah.
But my goal would not just be to make money. My goal would be for the excitement. Because I know that if I was working with Alexander Usyk would rise up. Joshua would have to beat the best Usyk, because Usyk would say, oh, Bashir's working with Joshua, now I'm really going to turn it on. So Joshua would have to compete against the best Usyk, because Usyk is that kind of guy. He's a competitive human being. And if he found out that I was working with Joshua, Usyk would rise up 2-3 levels. Then he would rise up and say, oh yeah, Bashir's working with him, now I'm really going to get him. Because Usyk he's not one of those guys that would take he would not take it to heart that I was working with Joshua. He would take it competitively.
Yeah.
Because that's who Alexander Usyk is. He's a competitor. He's a wolf in that ring. And if he found out that I was training Joshua, you can believe that he's going to come in that ring right and ready to fight. And Anthony Joshua had better do that anyway. He'd better do it because that's Alexander Usyk. That's his nature. He's got a competitive nature. He's a wolf. He's going to fight. Joshua's going to have to knock him out. Joshua's going to have to knock him out.
Okay.
And if Joshua doesn't knock him, if Joshua doesn't knock him out, he's going to be in a serious fight.
I don't think Joshua can win. And I mean, but as you said, the problem is a lot of these people, but as you said, this cookie crumble, like, you put in a jar, you shake it up. I'll give you a quick example.
Yeah. Now I'm a trainer. The UK, I think out of all UK fighters, I really, really like Brendan Ingle. Not Junior. Come on, give me a break.
I know him.
Brendan Ingle.
Yeah.
All right? Junior don't show me nothing. He doesn't show me anything. The old man was the one. I think the old man was better than Mickey Duff. I think Brendan Ingle is the one.
Yeah, I agree. I
think Brendan Ingle, he's a good strategist. He's a good trainer. He called it like it was. He didn't sugarcoat nothing. You understand? He didn't window dust nothing. He called it like it was. AJ is in a situation now where he needs some direction. He needs some direction. And he needed it going into the Ruiz fight. I'll bet they brought Ruiz in, what, two weeks before the fight, 3 weeks before the fight?
Yeah, less than a month, yeah.
He made a mistake by taking his foot off the gas. He had him when he dropped him, and he should have took the fight right back to him, not let Ruiz come to him. Different strategies. When he dropped Ruiz, he was supposed to jump right back in his face. But instead, he came out and he gave ground and let the momentum go to Ruiz by coming forward. It's that split second timing. I learned that about split second timing, about strategy from Emmanuel Stewart. When it comes to strategy, Emmanuel Stewart was my man. He was the first and foremost when it came to strategy.
Okay.
He was a strategist, and he knew, and is very punctual about it. He knew how to formulate strategy, and that's what AJ is going to need. And everybody is doing this is bullshit. This pads. I don't like it. I never liked it. I do it because the guys like it, but I don't overindulge in it. I don't believe in that. All this here pretty pads. I don't believe in that stuff because I know that they're not going to fight like that. And if they tried to fight like that, they will be exhausted in 2 or 3 rounds doing that foolishness. And they're doing it in a manner where nobody is punching back. And if it's a good fight you're fighting, they're not going to be just throwing straight punches to pads and stuff. I think the pad work is nonsense. But, they'll justify by saying, oh, it's hand-eye coordination. Who can argue with that? Nobody can argue with that. When you say, well, I'm doing it for hand-eye coordination, who can argue with it? You know what I'm saying? Nobody can. If you got a guy in the corner, I hear a bunch of guys in the corner, the whole world is falling down around him. And know what the trainer says? Get out there and use the jab. How can you go wrong by saying get out there and use the jab?
The question is, though, quick question.
Okay.
Sorry, James. But when they say get out and use the jab, have you trained your fighter to have a good jab? Have you actually developed?
Yes. Oh, yes.
That's the problem.
Oh, yes. And that's why I say nobody can go wrong by saying get out there and use the jab. But when don't you use the jab? You don't use the jab when the guy's counterpunching you. He's using the jab and getting countered with right hands over the jab. So you got to do something else to establish the jab. There's other things that you can do to establish that jab so that you won't get counted. I see guys having to use the jab, and the guy's constantly getting counted with right hand. There are other venues, other avenues that they can do to master the jab, of which I won't even explain here, because I'm not on your show right now to train other trainers.
Yeah.
I don't do that. I let them. I don't know when I'm going to compete against the trainers that's listening to this program. So I don't want to be on here teaching them what to do in that different circumstance. I don't want to teach, And then you'll ask those trainers, "Oh, I knew that. I knew that already." So if you know it, then you know it, but you won't learn it from me. You know what I'm saying? There are times when you use the jab, and there are times when you don't use the jab. They have to learn. They have to get knowledge about how to use the jab when you're getting counted. But how does a trainer go wrong in the corner by saying, "Get out there and use the jab"? To me, that's a mask for saying, "I don't know." So the way to stay safe is say, use the jab. That's how I stay safe. That's how when people look back later on, he said, "Well, he told me to use the jab." But that kind of knowledge does not always apply. It does not always apply. But people's going to say it there because they can't get in trouble.
I'll show you how silly it sounds. I'll give you an example. It's like if you take me, I'm a very confident talker. If you put me in front of an audience, I can talk. That's not a problem. But not everyone's like that. If you take Katie Taylor or anybody that you know on a personal level, or let's just say commentary, I can't commentate. So obviously Emmanuel Stewart was a popular commentator, but it's like telling Katie Taylor, get out on stage and talk. Yeah, but if she gets out there, is she a confident talker? Same with, say you put me in with a guy, say you put me in with Vlad Surenko, and someone says to me, get out and jab. Yeah, but I'm a little guy. I'm not a heavyweight. So I can get out there and jab. But here's the killer question. What happens when he punches me back? I weigh 150 pounds. I can't take a shot off a heavyweight. So this is what a lot of people are missing in boxing. But what happens when the opponent fights back? Does your fighter know what to do? Can they take the punches? Because obviously a lot of people, it's like, it's all well and good when you're landing the punches, but when someone's hitting you back, I mean, I think Mike Tyson's a great heavyweight, but you watch his fights, you never really see him win a fight that he was losing. I think his fight with Holyfield, I think he could have won, but Holyfield just had too much grit. He had too much toughness.
I think that Mike Tyson's momentum came from his mentality. Mike Tyson could have, in my opinion, been a great heavyweight. But fame and fortune came to him too quickly, and it overwhelmed him, and it consumed him. So most of the time, he was out there just winging it. I'll do what I have to do, but I'm not really committed. But if he had been committed, he could have been a great heavyweight. I think that he could have beaten Evander Holyfield. Timing was everything with Mike Tyson. Timing. Where they fought, I think that if he had fought him early on, people say, no, he could have never beat Holyfield. But I do believe he could have beat him. And he would have gave Lennox a very difficult time. But timing was everywhere. He fought those guys. Timing was everywhere. Would he have beaten Lennox? I don't know. But I think he would have given him a better fight. But timing, the scale, if you look at the timing scale, the early Mike Tyson, that was the one. All right. And I think that he could have beat Evander. But timing. He was consumed by all of the out of the ring activity, too much money, too much success, too much everything early on. And he was unprepared.
Well, see, the thing is, when people say those sort of things, when they say he could have never beaten Holyfield, but generally, I think we've already said this, but you're not really qualified. Well, I'm not saying you have to have a paper qualification, but you're not experienced enough to know these things. It's like, to me, someone like you are, but it's like a lot of these people, they're just sort of armchair fans. I'm not saying you can't have an opinion, but generally, I'll give you a quick example. Yeah, as someone who boxes and spars, some days I turn up at the gym, and yeah, I'm in the mood. I'm gonna give the effort. But then other days you turn up and you're just not in the frame of mind. So to me, this is the thing with Tyson, or just anyone in general, in his early career.
Boxers are human beings.
Yeah.
Boxers are human beings, just like a office worker or trapeze artist or airplane. Some days you go to work and say, I don't feel like it. And that's not no message to y'all airplane pilots out there. Don't listen to what I'm saying. Don't come in and tell me you don't feel like it. You up in the air with a million people on board. No, don't do that. If you don't feel like it, don't go to work. If you're not ready, don't go to work, man. Y'all got lives up there, And boxers are just like people. Sometimes they don't feel like it. I give Vlad Sarenko and Igor Pleveko. Those guys work for me because they never turned down sparring. I've had hundreds of sparring rounds with different fighters over the years. I mean, dozens and dozens and dozens of sparring rounds. And many times I'll have a boxer come and say, my neck hurt, my back hurt, my finger hurt, this hurts, that hurts. And they'll pull out of the sparring system. Even though the people might have came 6-7 miles, for the sparring. Or sometimes people came from other states just to get this sparring. And then I get my guy come in and tell me, oh, I don't feel like it today. I said, dude, this guy just traveled 100 miles to get here. I don't feel like it. So now I got to put up money. I got to put the people for a couple of days in the hotel. You understand? Just to get this sparring for the guy that I need to get. So I got to put up, here go food, here go hotel, because this guy doesn't want, but Vlad Sarenko, Igor Plevik, they don't play that. When I tell them that we got sparring, they're there. They're on the spot. And they get in, they spar. I've had Vlad Sarenko in with Joe Joyce, Bermain Stavern, Tony Yoka,
Usyk, Klitschko,
Du Bois.
Yeah, Daniel Dubois. Yeah.
Daniel Dubois. Klitschko. The who's who of the heavy, Michael Hunter. Povetkin. Vlad Sarenko's been in with everybody that is somebody in the heavyweight division, and not one single time has he missed a sparring session. And I find that phenomenal. He's the only fighter that I've had over these many years that never, ever, 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 ever missed a sparring session.
That's amazing.
I don't care. And he was in with Joe Joyce 3 times. Each time 6 rounds. All right?
Yeah.
That's right. He never, ever, 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 ever missed a sparring session. He been in with Tony Yoka. Some tough sparring. Never missed it. And I find that very phenomenal. Because these other guys, the other guys let me down.
See, the problem is, obviously, I completely believe you, but as a professional fighter, That's your responsibility. That's what you should be doing. So when you're telling me that he's the only one who's done that, that is a shame, because you would expect these fighters, it's your job, but obviously it doesn't work like that.
Sometimes they don't feel like it, and they let that emotion spill over into their professional lives. So if Lazarenko had those moments where he didn't feel like it, he never said nothing to me about it. He came in and did the work. All right? He came in and he did, and listen, let me tell you something. He didn't always get the best of that sparring.
Right.
He didn't always get the best of it. He had some rough times, but he would show up the next day and say, I'm going to get back today. He'd go home, he'd get some rest, he'd say, I'm going to get back today. Yeah, we was in Vegas. We was in Las Vegas a few years ago, and him and Joe Joyce was going at it. They was going at it. And that one time when we got back to the gym, did Lazarenko say, I don't want to box anymore. See, a lot of times a fighter, if he's doing well, he come back. But if he don't do well, he don't come back. Lazarenko comes back whether he does well or not. He's in there, and he does, whether he does well or not, he's coming back. He's coming back to work. And I'm very impressed by that. I'm very enthusiastic about that. I'm very, very impressed by his attitude. That's a step in the right direction.
See, something I would try to tell fighters, as I said, I never want to train fighters, but if I could become a manager, if I can get to that stage in life, what I would explain to you, if you were trying to tell me that, oh, I don't feel like sparring today, I'd say, what happens if you're in a fight? What happens if you get beat up and you don't want to come out for the next round? You're going to regret all those spars you've missed, because if you don't win this fight, you're holding yourself back in life. It's gonna become a mentality. Because I know a lot of people, I've seen it happen. They don't want to do this, they don't want to do that, and then I'll give you a famous example. Jack Dempsey, Gene Tunney. Jack Dempsey said the reason he lost to Tunney, I don't think he was making excuses, but I don't think he'd boxed in a couple of years, and he said, I've been living too soft. And then when you get in the ring with someone and this guy's too hungry and he's too ambitious, obviously physically, your body's not going to be able to perform at that. It's like doing hill sprints. The first 2 hill sprints are easy for me. By the time it gets to 7 or 8, your body's like, I'm screaming in pain. And if you can't push that past that point in sparring, what happens in a fight what happens when you get rocked on the jaw? What happens? You get dropped. Are you going to have the heart to, or are you just going to go in the corner and, yeah, I've had enough. I'm not going back out. Look what Joe Frazier told Eddie Futch in the 14th round. He said, let me come back out. How many people could do that? And that's going to hold you back. If, that's what I tell fighters. It's your life, but if you're going to avoid tough sparring, what happens when it comes to the fight? What happens if you get in there? Go look at George Foreman.
That's right. Some guys, as gifted as some guys are, they don't like sparring. I have one guy tell me, look, man, I'm gonna be all right. It's 8 days before the fight. I'm gonna be all right. I said, listen, dude, if you can't do this here, then what kind of impression are you gonna make in the fight? If you don't want to stand in and do the sparring, the tough sparring here, how can you impress upon me that you're going to do all right in the fight? I just don't buy that. You've got to work. Boxing is a physical sport. You have to do the work. Sometimes I push Lazarenko and Igor. I push them past the limit. I said, look, today we're going to do 15 rounds. He said, well, the fight's only 12 rounds. I said, trust my strategy. We're going to do 15 rounds. And they don't like it, but I'm telling them, you're going to love me later on for this. Go out and do 15 rounds. And then when they do 15 rounds, sometimes I come back and say, listen, I know what you're going to think. I know how bad you're going to feel, but can you do 2 more rounds? And they have, no, what are you talking about? Listen, do this for me, all right? Go out and do 2 more rounds. Come on, do 17 rounds. Look, you got 15 here. What's to stop you from doing 2 more? Come on. So you got to be part trainer and part psychologist, you know? Part social worker, part babysitter, whatever the case might be, whatever it takes to get them across the line. And one day you're going to look back and say, man, I'm glad that I was doing them rounds. You know? I'm glad I was doing those rounds. I maintain a healthy relationship with Vladimir Klitschko, with Vitaly Klitschko, and with Lennox Lewis. I maintain a healthy relationship with them where I'm on the phone, you know, doing daily conversations with these guys all of the time.
Wow.
You know? Because I go back and I tap into their mental, their psychic, to see what they were thinking in this fight, what they were thinking prior to the fight, and the fight, and prior to after the fight. I want to know, you know, inquiring minds want to know. Yep. And that tells me what I got to do prior to fights. You know, Vlad Sarenko, and he's a very good professional. Very, very, very good professional. Igor Plevik only has 7 fights. I think he has 5 KOs in 7 fights. So he has yet to impress upon me that he wants to be there. I've seen it in a couple of fights, but he has yet, over longevity, to impress upon me that he wants to be there. I believe he does. That's why I'm working with him, because I think that is a sound investment. But Vlad Sarenko has definitely proven to me that, yeah, I want to be there. I want to be the heavyweight that you think I could be. You know, and that's impressive to me.
No, I agree
it's such
with
a
your
tough sport.
Yeah, no, I agree with your philosophy. When you're pushing them extra rounds, again, the way I'd explain it to them, if they don't like it, I'd say, look, say you're in a fight, say you get to a fight, once you're in the 5th round, the opponent, for them, they're in the 5th round. They've done 5 hard rounds. But for you, because you've done extra, it's going to feel like the 2nd round, 3rd round for you. You're going to have more in the gas tank. You know, and it's like some of these fighters that come on, it's like, who's a good example? It's like, you take certain fighters and, yeah. Hello again. Who would you say has got great stamina? So for me, I'll name people like Carl Froch, Marvin Hagler, Ray Robinson. Like, these are people who can perform well in the last round. Who else can I think of? I've said Ali as well. Joe Louis. You know, obviously Joe Louis always did better in rematches. But I think you got to push yourself if you want to be able to perform well later in the fight. And who would you say are some of the great? Who would you say, in terms of stamina, which fighters stand out in boxing history?
Hector Camacho.
Yeah.
Hector Camacho was a heck of an artist. I mean, he can give it and he can take it. You know, that stands out in my mind. Muhammad Ali stands out in my mind. Larry Holmes stands out in my mind. You know, those guys were enigmas. Those guys were they were performers.
Yeah.
You know, Camacho was a wolf out there. Marvin Hagler. You know, those guys were stamina wolves. They're gonna fight. I don't. If you come out, I'm coming out. And they stood on it. They stood on it. You know, these guys was wolves.
Yeah.
You know, nobody was going to stop those guys inside the ring.
No. And I don't want to take up too much of your time today, so I'll finish off by asking you a question. It's been a little while since I've met Eddie Hearn, but I'm gonna go to the one of the press conferences soon, have a chat with him. But interview him. I do interviews and different things. When can we sort of expect to see you here in the UK? And who, is there anyone in the UK you stay in touch with?
I don't. I'm just trying to check on my schedule. Will I be there? I'm going to go to Sheffield, I believe. You know, on some personal stuff. I'm going to go to Sheffield, and I'll probably be there within the next 6 weeks. You know, but you and I will be in touch. You know, we'll be in touch. Like you said, these guys in boxing nowadays, they'll invest in everything, but they won't invest in trainers. It was commonplace. I mean, in the 70s, you found people that was always investing in trainers. But now they don't do that. They don't do that as much. You know, they don't go out there and exhaust themselves trying to find good teachers. And it's not just being a good teacher. It's being a good role model, you know, for the boxer, the good impressionist for the boxer.
Yeah.
You know, as Emmanuel will say, you want your attributes to rub off. I think the doctor. Wait a minute, it's the doctor calling.
Hey, how you doing?
All right, sir.
Good to see you.
All right.
How you doing? You all right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's a good role model. Emmanuel taught me a lot of things that I keep to myself, and I use them in my daily life and in my training life. I use them all the time, and I think about them a lot. I think about Emmanuel a lot. I think about all of the stuff that we did together. I think it was 16 or 17 years. 15 years definitely, but the other 2 years was on and off, on and off. I was in and out of Detroit because I was doing other things. But I learned a lot from him, and I took in a lot, and I keep a lot in my mind, you know. But I think that life goes on, you know. Professionalism goes on, and that's what I pride myself on, being a true professional. I think that Anthony Joshua needs a good role model around him. He needs to sit back and don't try to be the boss of everything. Don't try to be the boss of everything. Sit back and listen. Sit back and try to learn. Sit back and try to embrace the wisdom from the old school. And then he'll learn something about boxing, you know? I mean, he's been out there. He knows some things because he's been out there. He's been at the top level.
Yeah.
But man, I just felt that he would be too strong and too powerful for Usyk, you know? So that's what I felt. And then as the fight unfolded, I said, well, what is he doing? Why isn't he doing this? Why isn't he doing that? Why isn't he doing this? You know? I never underestimate Alexander Usyk. And I think that the Alexander Usyk he sees in this next fight, I think he's going to be in a really tough fight.
I agree.
He's going to be in a really tough fight. You know?
Look, the problem is, I'll say it very quickly because I don't want to hold you up. The problem with Joshua, the problem with Joshua, you've got all these people in your life. I can explain it very well. They go to university, they get a degree in sports science, they come out, and obviously I understand you've got thousands of pounds of debt, mortgage, you've got kids, everyone wants to make money, I understand that. But the problem with these people, they might know sports science, but you don't know boxing, and they don't know how to teach AJ skill.
Exactly.
Okay, I'll give you a quick example, yeah. If you take Katie Taylor, I don't know if you watch her interviews, she's a very, very bad public speaker. So she talks English, but if you put her on stage, she can't talk the way I can. What I'm trying to say is, if you take someone like Anthony Joshua and you tell him to lift weights, all right, he's going to put muscle on, but it doesn't mean you're going to become a better fighter. It doesn't mean you're developing skill, punch resist. Because look at these guys. Look at the George Foreman and these sort of people. Look at Ernie Shavers. Joshua doesn't punch as hard as Shavers, but it's not just because you're big. it doesn't mean you can. Well, look when David Haye fought Nikolai Valuev. That guy was bigger than Joshua, but that guy's not. He can't punch. He lost to Holyfield. Holyfield beat him.
Right. And they
So
found
this,
Holyfield. Yeah. Holyfield beat him.
so this is what I'd say to Joshua if I was talking to him. So I'm not. I say to him, I'm not. I don't want to be your trainer, but I can explain just common sense, logic. You know, you don't know how to do something. Like when you watch the fight against Usyk, he wasn't that bad. It's just Usyk kept getting the punch off quicker than him. So that's what I'd say to
Right.
him. Like, the thing about pads, though, obviously I've done pads. Pads don't hit back. It's like, what's a good example? When I spar people, yeah, I've sparred women and kids just messing around. And because you know this person doesn't pose a challenge, you're very
Right.
relaxed. But
Very relaxed.
when I spar someone that's my size, I'll give you an example. I didn't feel like it. I walked into the gym. There was someone there who I know his ability. He came up to me, hey, do you want to spar? Do you want to spar? I could see his energy. And I thought, I'm not in the mood to take punches off this man today. So I turned him down. I sparred other people that day, just not him. Not him. I'm not.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to say about pads. Pads are not, even if the coach hits you with the pads, it's not the same as someone punching you for real.
That's
So,
right.
so
That's
this
right.
is, you're not. Okay, so when people say self-defense, all this stupid
I
self-defense
never saw
class.
pads. I never saw pads in the late 60s. I'm going back in the
Yeah.
late 60s, 68, 69, 70. I didn't see no pads. Those pads did not come along until 75, 76, 77. That's when the pads came in. And prior to that, you didn't see no pads. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Ray Robinson and those guys, they didn't use no pads. Joe Louis, Ray Robinson, Armstrong, you know, they didn't use no pads. Pads wasn't around.
Yeah.
I see AJ's boxing and he's throwing a straight combination and he's leaning over and he's throwing the body punch. But my thing is, why would a guy that's what's AJ is 6'6"?
Yeah, 6'6".
Why would a big tall guy like that lean over to try to throw a body punch on a body guy like Ruiz, the way he's bending? Do you know what could happen to you if you get caught bending over there?
You're vulnerable.
Yeah, you're very vulnerable. You fight tall. You know, he's a tall guy, fight tall. The body shots will come there. The body shots will be apparent after you wear the guy down. But he's doing different things that I wouldn't have him doing. I would not. I see a lot of things that he's done, a lot of clips of him on the internet doing different things that I would not, as a trainer, have him to do. I would tell him to forget about that. Forget about doing this. Forget about doing that. You don't need that to be successful. You don't need that. Boxing for me is about being successful at what you do, but do it in a way where it's going to benefit you. Not where you're going to take punishment in doing it. It doesn't make sense when you do that. When you're taking punishment.
But look, it's a shortcut. If you take other jobs, I work in construction. If you want to be an electrician, you got to go to college. If you want to be a bricklayer, you got to go to college. If you haven't got the qualification, they'll laugh at you. They won't even talk to you. Like any other industry, banks, like some of these, you've got to go to university. You've got to have a degree. If you haven't got one, there's no conversation. But in boxing, it's just cookie cutter, shake it all up. And what you're saying about strategy, bending over at the waist, the people telling him that, they don't really know what they're doing. They're just doing it on the. I mean, I understand.
No, they're doing things. They're doing things to make themselves seem important. They're doing things to make themselves seem like what I'm teaching you is a viable instrument that you can use going forward. And it's a lot of bullshit. All right, it's bullshit. No way. Joshua's got to be 6'6", 6'6.5". He's a tall guy.
Yeah, 6'6", yeah.
Shouldn't be bending down. Shouldn't be looking for that. No, you box. You box. You get behind the jab and look to set up right hands. Big guys like Joshua doesn't need a lot to win a fight. Good boxer, good eyes, good reflexes. Doesn't need a whole lot of razzmatazz to win a fight. And win the fight impressively. Because he's a big puncher. So, you know, that you got to put lock and stock into what he does good. You know, and protect. Teach him a strategy to protect what he does bad.
I'll give you a perfect example for people to understand. You see all this razzmatazz in boxing, and you need to have a nickname, you need to wear this, you need to take this protein shake, you need to use these weights. Look at Cuba. I've never been, but when you look at these Cuban boxing documentaries, the gyms there, basic facilities. But this country, for those of you who just look at a map, Cuba's a small island. These guys have been producing Olympic gold medalists for decades. So this is the thing where...
Well, the same thing with the Kronk Gym. The Kronk Gym is a very small gym. The original Kronk Gym was a very small place. It was in a basement. It was a very small place. And man, they produced countless great fighters. It's a mentality. It's not the gym. It's not the walls. It's not the heavy back. It's not the ring. It's a mentality. That's where the momentum is in the mentality. That's why I just told you I turn people down every single day. Every single day. Somewhere in the world, somebody is calling me to say, hey, can you come and train this fighter? Can you fly here? Can you come here and aid me in training this fighter? And other trainers is even calling me to come and aid them. But I don't want to mix my training with somebody else's training and then put my label on it, to put my name on that. No, because it might go wrong. I know what I'm doing. I know what I want to do. I know how I'm going to do it with the particular fighter that I'm training. If the guy is 5'8", or the guy is 6'3", I'm going to make my adjustments in my mentality and my application therein, you know, with their physical aspect. I know just what I want to do, but I don't want somebody else adding theirs in with mine, and then it comes out diluted, comes out wrong, and my name is on it. I don't want that. Mm-mm.
No, but it's not fair on you, because like say you're working with a fighter. I've seen this happen. You work with a fighter, you got a plan, you got a strategy in mind, and then you get some guy that comes along. Oh, hey, champ, yeah, make sure you watch out for the guy's uppercut. And now they're thinking about that instead of thinking about the stuff that you've been telling them. You know, and this guy's not a trainer.
Right.
This guy's, you know, it's not.
That's right. I never I don't want family. I don't want friends. I don't want nobody in that locker room prior to the fight. I don't want no well wishes. I don't want nobody in that locker room prior to the fight. Everybody's going to have to wait until after the fight. I don't want nobody coming in there. I don't want no. It's not a good thing. I have not had a good experience with people coming into locker rooms before the fight. Just stay in the audience, go sit down, get some popcorn or something, and sit in the audience. You're better off there. I don't want to change nothing. You know what I'm saying? And that's what happens a lot of times when you allow these people coming into the locker room.
The thing is, I can explain it quite well. So obviously, I'm against it. But I would say, to me, if you're about to have a fight, it's the trainer's job to prepare you for the fight. The trainer knows what to do. It's like any other industry. If you're an upcoming chef, you know, the head chef is going to teach you what to do. The thing about family coming into the changing room, they cannot contribute any useful information. Now, they might say the usual. They might, make sure you use the jab. But that's not your responsibility to tell me that. It's the trainer's
Yeah, but
responsibility.
you know, everybody wants the grand stage. You know, the assistant trainer in the last fight that Blaserenko had, he got emotional and jumped up on the stairs and said, "No, no, throw it." I said, "No, sit down, man, sit down. Don't do that." Yeah, I know I was wrong. No, don't do that because you're causing them to do something impulsively as a reaction, and you'll get them in trouble.
Yeah.
A boxer doesn't need 9 people in the corner trying to tell him what to do with 1 minute on the clock. You got the trainer telling him, "Listen, this is what I want you to do." And then between it there, you got 2 other guys. You got to go to the body. You got to come back with the hook. And then when you come back with a double jab, and blah, 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 blah. And when he leaves the corner, he's no better off than he was when he came in the corner.
Yeah.
Why? Because you got 2, 3 people interjecting thoughts and impressions into his mind, and then when he goes out the corner, he said, "Well, shit, I'm out here. I'm in the worst place that I was when I came to the corner."
Yeah.
So I said, "No talking in the corner. It's not professional. It's not professional for anybody to do that. You know, I don't allow that in my corner. Show some respect for the trainer. If not, you have to leave the corner. But 3 or 4 or 5 people can't give the fighter instructions. I know you want to help the fighter, but if you want to help him, keep quiet. Keep quiet and let the trainer do his job. You know, you got some people sitting in the seat, double your jab, hook up your jab, and you got the trainer in the corner giving him advice on what he needs to do at that particular time, and then you got somebody in the front row saying, "Hook up your jab."
Yeah. It throws you off.
I say, "Oh my God, hook up your jab, now mind you, you haven't spent 1 day in a boxing gym, but you're sitting in the front row. You work at a car company."
Yeah.
And you telling the fighter, "Hook up your jab, double your jab, hook, come back with the right hand." But you work for a car company. I'm the guy that's been in the gym with him every day for 6 weeks, but you're telling him to hook up the jab. It's disrespect. I don't come down to the car company and tell you what to do. So how you gonna come in and tell a boxer what to do? I just don't like it. I think it's contemptuous and complete disrespect. And it's just as much disrespect if the assistant is in the corner talking. It's just as disrespectful. Keep quiet. Keep quiet. Pay your dues, man. You know? Sometimes I'll say 2 words. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep it like that. Sometimes you don't need a lot of input in the corner. Keep it just like you're doing. Just keep it just like that there. Hey, use your legs a little more. It might be 1 word, it might 2, 3 words. Sometimes it might say, doing great. Keep going. And leave it alone. Don't give no other word. The people, conditioning coaches, everybody wants to come in and tell them, "Well, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to make themselves seem important." You know, to make themselves seem important, but they're not really important because they really don't know what to do.
And then the
Just
thing
the way it
is, and so I'm going to ask you about human nature in a bit, but then the problem, look, there's nothing wrong if these people, if you want to become a head trainer, if you want to become the next James Ali Bashir or Manuel Stewart, do it. But you're not willing to take the time to learn the sport, to learn your craft. That's the problem.
Right.
And I'll give you an example. Let me ask you about human nature. It's like with me, when I look back on my life, if I look back at disagreements or things that I've had with people, nothing serious. I'm a very nice guy. I've never had anything serious. But sometimes you have disagreements at work, trivial things. And when I look back at my life, sometimes it wasn't my fault. But in the times that it was my fault, I'm happy to say, you know what? That's something I was wrong for. I shouldn't have done that. Okay, I'll give you a quick example. Because I box, I told someone once on a construction site, it was getting on my nerves, but I made a comment. I said to him, you know what, yeah, I could knock you out if I wanted. In hindsight, it didn't get serious, but I regret making that comment. I was too overconfident. Now,
Right.
the question I'm trying, and it was all like apologize afterwards, and even people told me like you didn't need to say that. The question I'm asking though, a lot of people in boxing, and that guy that you argued with, that 42-year-old trainer, it's always someone else's fault. Always. It's like if you said something to me and you criticized what I was doing, my personality, I'd listen to what you had to say, and the last thing I'd say to you is this: what do I need to do to prove myself to you? And I'd go away and I'd come back. But most people don't do that. They're not willing to change. They'll just say, oh, James Ali Bashir is wrong. Would you agree with that? Like that trainer you mentioned. But I'm not knowledgeable. And I'm 31 years old. How can I disagree with you about training fighters as an example?
You know, people grow and some people don't grow. People see things the way they want to see them.
Yeah.
Irregardless of what you say or what I say, they're going to see things the way they want to see them. And trying to explain something to them, or trying to get some understanding on it, it's like bumping your head against a brick wall.
Yeah.
So you establish yourself by the expertise that you show from your hand, and don't worry about the rest. And don't worry about the rest. You know, I do what I do. People can't say that I've done anything for money. I didn't do nothing for money. I do it for pride. I have respect and pride about what I do. When I go to show any kind of boxing application, I look at it as though it were an octagon. An octagon, you look at it from above, from the side, and from below. You just examine it and say, all right, I see and understand what I need to do to get this job done. And I don't want to look bad doing it, because people pay time and money to watch us perform. And we have to perform in a professional way. You know, that's why I tell these guys in the corner, everybody can't be talking. I'm giving them the instructions. You don't need no other structure. You don't need nobody coming back second guessing the trainer. It's just not professional. It's just not professional. And people still do it to this day. You see it all over boxing. 2, 3 guys in the corner trying to tell the boxer what to do. And I'm trying to say, what is a boxer going to get out of that? Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Yeah, it's confusing. And the funny thing is, for anyone watching that doesn't box, I can tell you a true story about me. I had a fight last year, a boxing fight, which I lost. Funny thing is, the 2 guys that I had in my corner, I knew both of them. They didn't really know each other though. They were in my corner and they did exactly what you said. I came back to the corner. They both told me 2 different things. And when I got out there in the fight, because I didn't do too bad. It was a close fight, but they both told me different things. And during the round, I tried both things out, and I was like, oh, which guy do I listen to? And yeah, so from personal experience, that is a problem because.
So because they don't know, if you go back and box again, you have to lay the law down before the fight happens. And listen, you do the talking and you assist them. I don't need 2 guys talking to me.
Yeah.
You do the talking, you assist them. All right? It can't go like that there. I don't like it. I tell the fighter, I said, look, if this guy's got to talk in the corner right there, you don't need me. I said, I'll take a walk. You go ahead with him. I don't like it. And I let him know I don't like it. I'll let anybody that I've worked with over the years, but I don't like it. No talking in the corner, not in my corner. If you have to talk, then one of us got to go. I can't get anything done if I got to struggle to talk over somebody that's trying to talk over me. I'm gonna get something done.
You can't.
No, you can't.
Yeah, but it's like, what was the name of the trainer? So Leon Spinks versus Muhammad Ali rematch. Leon
Yeah,
Spinks had all these voices in his corner, and the head
Georgie
trainer,
Benton.
yeah, he walked away. He said, he's not listening to me, so he left. But I'll give you an example. Look at history. Look at Julius Caesar, Alexander the Great. When you've got one head voice, look at the things you can achieve. You know, presidents, Hannibal Barca, Napoleon Bonaparte. These guys, you
Yeah,
know what? You know why they were successful? Their voice was the one that mattered most. They gave orders, the rest of them and there was a hierarchy. Everyone knew Caesar is the general of this army.
right.
Napoleon's the emperor. Alexander the Great, king of Macedonia. They're the voice at the top. Because I've done time in the British Army. There's a hierarchy. It's very organized. Because when I go to the army sessions, I know who's who in the pecking order. But if you've got five, six different, five, six different voices, But anyway, so how
You
much longer have
can't
you?
get nothing done.
Yeah, yeah,
You can't get nothing done.
confusing. But look, I still want to take up too much of your time. Let's try and finish off on what do you enjoy most about boxing? What kind of positive impact do you think boxing has on people?
I've been doing it for 52 years, so you know what I think about it.
Yeah, of course, me too.
And then when I'm here, I got so many people, like some mornings I go to people's clients' house at 3 in the morning, and from that house I go to another house. People want me to come to their house before they go to work, you know. Yeah, I,
Well,
I you know, I love boxing that much that I go to their house. I mean, I get paid for doing it, but it's not a necessity. I just do it out of the love of boxing. I want to teach the whole world boxing. I think it's one of the best exercises that a person can practice, whether they're going to be a boxer or not. I think that it's the most beautiful exercise to get yourself in condition. It'll help you.
yeah, I agree. I think obviously a lot of people need it, but just it's like I read a lot of philosophy, and obviously a lot of people they have all this razzmatazz, fancy clothes, fancy jewelry, but they don't work on themselves as a person. And it's like you can have all that money, but how many of them are happy? Robin Williams, rest in peace, killed himself. I mean,
Yeah,
how many celebrities, the people with money, but how many of them are on alcohol and drugs? You
yeah,
know, and I don't
yeah,
mean to sound cliche, but I've been
yeah,
to East Africa where I'm from. I know people that are living on $50 a month, and I'm telling you for a
yeah,
fact, I'm
yes,
telling you they're
yes,
happy. I'm telling you.
yeah. I've experienced that. I've experienced it. I know people all over the world who people got no idea what happiness is, what happiness is. Yes, all over the world, you'll find that. You said with little or nothing. And sometimes I think they are happier when they have nothing because they've never experienced having something. And what is having something? Happiness is the best thing to have. The best thing to have. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll meet again. We'll meet again.
No, great note to finish on. Thanks for your time, James, and we'll talk in future, hopefully.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We're definitely talking to you. You can contact me anytime. I'm here. And I'll let you know when I'm flying. You know, I think that I'm going to go to Don King's show next week. Don King has a show with two South Africans, Junior Makabo and what's the other young man, the Southpaw, Machuno. So two South Africans fighting in Ohio. That's deep. Two South Africans gonna fight for the cruiserweight title in Ohio next week. So I think I'm gonna fly out to Don King, and I got my boxer here from Ukraine, and we're gonna fly out there, and then we're gonna flying to Miami from there.
Yeah.
And then back to New York. So we got our work cut out for us, all right? Good talking with you. I'll see you around. God willing, all right?
Thanks for your time. Talk to you soon.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Have a good day.
You too.